welcome to the With Rachel show, and I'm so excited. It's the first episode, and today I have Keagon Doyle with me, who is a College of the Ozarks graduate and got a job at the Convoy of Hope. So Keagon, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so while I was at College of the Ozarks, I studied video production and public relations, graduated in spring of 2017. After that, I worked locally for a local ministry doing video editing for them. Did that for the last 2.5 years or so. And then just in November, I started working at Convoy of Hope as a filmmaker, and I love it. It's been great. So,
Cool.
yeah.
So what do you do there?
So, the title filmmaker is not very all-encompassing because I kind of do a lot of random things, honestly. One day, our team was going through artwork from kids in Ethiopia who they did some artwork to show what they wanted to be when they grew up. And so we were going through that and taking photos of that. And then the next day we were flying out to the Bahamas to film a Christmas party that we were doing for kids with Bass Pro and everything. So, it's
cool.
a very wide range of things that we do with the job. And I love it because I love traveling. I love working with kids and just kind of all the above. It's just been amazing. So
What made you want to work there?
So I actually had looked into Convoy of Hope while I was at C of O, but there just wasn't any openings at the time. And even if there was an opening, I really didn't have the experience quite yet. So like I said, the last couple of years, I was working at a kind of smaller local ministry, just doing video editing for them, and I focused on that. And doing video editing every day, it really helped me hone in on my skills and just really build that. And then by the time I went to Convoy, I was able to kind of take that with me and be like, hey, I actually have some experience now. So they had an opening starting last September, and I kind of went through the application process and got hired on in November.
So while you were at college, did you think that after you graduated, you would ever work for a nonprofit?
You know, I honestly, throughout college, I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do. I knew that I enjoyed video. I knew that was a passion of mine, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with that though. While I was in college, I did an internship with the Vacation Channel, which is a local TV station.
Oh, I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'd shoot, Friday night football games. At C of O, I did a lot of shooting and directing basketball games while I was there. You've probably maybe done a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of my background while I was at C of O kind of more focused on the broadcast side of things. And then even the job that I went into video editing, even though I was video editing, it was kind of more on the broadcast side of things right out of college. And so, because it was it was a TV type of ministry. And so, so that was kind of the focus. But then, but the first project I worked on outside of college, right after I graduated, I found a local coffee shop called Hollister Coffee Company, and I read Isaac Coughlin's story. He's the owner. I read his story in the newspaper, and it was just a really powerful story. And I went to him. I just showed up at the coffee shop one day. I was like, "Hey, man, can I tell your story on video?" And so,
did he know you?
I'd never seen him in my life.
Really?
I'd never even been to the coffee shop. I
Wow.
read his story in the newspaper. I'm like, "Hey, I want to tell it on video.
That's
I'm a
cool.
recent C of O grad. Can I do this for you?"
Wow.
And so he was like, "Let's do it."
Yeah.
And so we made that video. Within 3 days, it had 30,000 views, and it was. And so I was we were both kind of shocked,
Wow.
whoa, and so that was not just the views. I don't say it to brag, but it was that showed me the value in kind of what I had studied, and it showed me the value in storytelling, and that project was what really kind of gave me a little bit more of a passion for more of the documentary, cinematic style of shooting instead of, and it made me realize that broadcast was something important for me to learn, but not really what my passion was, if that makes sense. And so that was what really kind of got me interested in that style of filmmaking. And then that is actually more of the type of thing I do at Convoy of Hope too, is just kind of capturing stories of people and being able to share that. So
Do you think that that's what got you interested in telling people's stories?
It's funny because I went, 4 years through college studying video production. And I mean, I knew I liked it, but I didn't really know how I fit into that. And it was really that project that really made me like, oh, like this is actually like a really cool thing, and like there's a lot of like power and like just a lot of stuff that you can express through this. And so that was definitely what really made me interested in that type of filmmaking, for sure. So
I think it's cool because I think like when you just focus on like telling other people's stories that aren't famous, like it kind of like makes them famous, or like makes them stand out. Someone who like normally would never stand out.
And that's what I love, honestly, is just finding. I think that's like I find like a lot of I don't know what it is. And I don't want to say joy necessarily, but like I do find joy in it. But like I just find a lot of meaning in telling stories that people would not normally hear, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually also doing, I haven't really, it's kind of something I'm still like getting started up, but I've started this thing called Humans of the Ozarks, which I don't know if you're familiar with. Humans of New York. Okay, yeah. So it's kind of just going out, and it's a little bit less film focused and more just photography focused, but you just take a photo of somebody, talk to them about like something about their life, and then just, you just share that on Facebook and Instagram, and whoever wants to see it can see it. So
do you have any advice for anybody who's in college now who doesn't know what they want to do after college, or maybe thinks that they're in the wrong major?
Yeah, so that's kind of a tough question. To be honest, I was kind of spoiled, and you're kind of spoiled to be at C of O too, College of the Ozarks, where you work on campus to pay for your tuition, because and I'm a little biased towards that, because if you graduate from there and you don't go right into your major, or like you don't go into a field that you necessarily studied, like you didn't just waste $60,000. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You spent 4 years studying that, and it's great if you can go into that, but then you don't have so much debt that it's like, okay, well, if I decide to do something else 5 years down the road, I didn't pay $60,000 in student loans to get to where I'm at, so I'm not gonna feel like I wasted that, even if I don't study, even if I don't go into that field, if that makes sense. So I don't know that I have great advice for somebody outside of C of O, just because that was my only experience. But for somebody at C of O who's maybe struggling, trying to figure out what they want to do, I'd say pray about it, give it to God. Like don't feel like you have to have it all figured out. I know some people who they started freshman year and they knew exactly what they wanted to do throughout all college. They studied that. They went to that field immediately afterwards, and like great, good for you. Like I was not like that. I kept what I studied in. Like I kept that throughout college. I studied video production, and then when I graduated, I went into that. But throughout college, like even though I was studying that, like I didn't even know if that's really what I wanted to do. I was just doing it because I was like, well, this is something I might be good at. Like I say, don't be afraid to study something you're passionate about. Even like, I mean, everybody's different. I never really cared that much about making a ton of money. I mean, if I do at some point, great. I won't reject that. But it wasn't something I was worried about.
When you were at graduation and you were like sitting there at commencement, were you thinking anything like, wow, like this is it, or like what was going through your head, or were you just not thinking about anything, or what,
yeah, I think when I was getting ready to walk across that stage, I mean, by the time I graduated, I was ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was also kind of a for me, like a moment where I was like, man, like everything these last 4 years has led up to this moment. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it's just like this really exciting thing, but it's also like, man, like I'm gonna miss these people, like, and it's funny how much you want to get out of something. Not get out of something necessarily, but like it's funny how much you think you're ready to leave, and then when it's actually time to leave, it's like, oh, like, bye. I'm gonna cry now, Yeah. So I definitely experienced that. Like that was kind of how I was feeling, and like in terms of being prepared for my future, I mean, I loved what I studied and stuff, but again, it was just something where like I'll just take one step at a time, and I didn't know. I got offered the job that I took right after college. I got that offered 2 weeks before I graduated. So I mean, it was a very last minute for me, and I didn't even know like, what I was going into necessarily. But yeah, walking across that stage, it was a really powerful moment for me, because it was just like, man, like everything I've done these last 4 years led up to this moment. And so anyway, yeah.
Before you got that job offer, were you nervous? Like, were you, like, freaking out? Like, I don't know what I'm going to do?
Not really. I think it helped that I had worked throughout college. That definitely helped me, because, like, I knew that I had stuff to fall back on, you know, if I needed it. You know, it wasn't something where I felt like, I mean, I really wanted to have a job on field after college, but if I didn't have that, I really wasn't worried about it. Because I knew at some point, if I just continued to kind of pursue that, at some point, you know, God would open that door, because that was kind of what I was passionate about. So I just was kind of trusting him in that, and God opened the door, and, you know, within 2 weeks, and it started in 2 weeks. So, yeah.
That's crazy, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think I would be so nervous.
Yeah.
I'm nervous now.
Yeah, I get you.
Crazy.
I get you.
Wow.
I definitely understand people who are nervous. You know what I mean? I get that nervousness and the reason for it, but I just never really felt that too much. So.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
For letting me interview you. And thanks for helping me set all this up.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yo, this has been Keagon Doyle. Thanks for watching with Rachel. See you next time.